here a really long time. At least I think I have.
Flavius!
There you are. What have we all got to?
Sorry, only storytellers managed to split us all up somehow.
Split us up how? How did they do that?
That's the way they tell it. Whatever they tell happens. You find yourself doing what you want or not.
Maybe you do. I don't. I make up my own mind.
Be careful. That's what they like you to do. That's what they like you to do. You may only think
What?
You need to be on your guard at all times.
Me.
Especially you. Think who you are.
What have they got against this guy anyway? What's his name? Flavius?
Don't you see? While you're alive, you're a danger to them. You're the only story player to stand up to them. You so nearly managed to bring their power with you, return to the players where it belongs. You so nearly managed.
But I didn't, did I? And what makes you think I'm here anyway? I mean, he's dead. I'm alive. His name's Flavius, and my name's Fred.
Flavius was... You were never dead. You were...
What?
You were ever after.
Ever after.
That's the only way to say it. Out of the storybooks where like characters don't have done to them.
Ever after?
Right.
Like happily ever after?
Sometimes.
Or unhappily ever after?
Sometimes, yes.
I can guess where I was.
You say you remember?
Not a thing, but what am I doing here? Why aren't I living it unhappily ever after?
Well, it's because you never.
Like? Like? You're gonna have to tell me if they're gonna try and send me back. Who brought me here?
Well, it could have been Uncle Radicus. He does do things wrong quite a lot. He could have brought you back a mistake. Or Aunt Oblivious. She could have somehow reinvented you.
Or Great Aunt, what's her name? Does she have anything to do with this?
Great Aunt Repetitus. It's my view. She's too clever and far away the most dangerous. You need to be careful with her today. She'll tell the story.
I'll be aware.
What?
If they invent everything,
Practically everything.
then how do we know they haven't invented this big?
I don't know.
So chances are they've already invented this conversation, in which case there'd be no point in having this conversation, in which case this is way too complicated for me.
I told you, they don't invent everything.
How do we know what they...
No one else invented that, I promise you. Someone's coming.
Here we are.
Here we are. Are we?
Is he ready? He's ready.
Ready.
Good luck, ladies.
Ready for anything.
Frightened of nothing, eh?
Nothing.
And no one?
And no one.
Cheers to Flavius.
Flavius!
But trust none of us, especially her.
Especially her.
Especially me.
Keep moving. That's the secret. Don't let them settle. They'll try and set up a pattern, you see.
A pattern. Yes.
You gotta break it. Break the pattern, you see?
Break it. Yes.
They'll try and create a false sense of security, you see.
False sense of security.
If you let them do that, you're done.
So, keep your guard up.
Don't let them get you into a corner.
Look out! Oh,
I can't even trust you now.
I hope you can, but I can't guarantee it. None of us can. You have to remember the main reason why you're here. The strongest reason of them all.
And what's that?
Love, ladies. Love. Story time, then!
Hey!
Story time! My turn, I think.
It's going to be one of her own stories by the looks of it.
Be extra careful.
Anything special I should account for?
Everything.
Remember her name, Great Aunt Repetitus, which means her stories tend to go around in circles. Sometimes they do, but not always.
Is that a good thing?
It can be.
But not always.
Thanks. You guys are a lot of help.
Pay attention! This is the story of the enchanted farmer's sons.
I don't know that one.
Oh no! Then you better pay attention then, hadn't you, Albert?
Oh, yes.
You know what happens when you don't pay attention, don't you, Albert?
Yes, yes.
Something awful happens in chapter 2, doesn't it, Albert?
Yes.
Good! Then I shall begin. There was once a rich farmer who owned a great deal of land. And the land was so rich that his crops flourished and his cattle grew big and fat. I said a rich farmer, Albert. A rich farmer, not a woodcutter.
Oh, just a second.
You're not even going to last through chapter 1 at this rate, are you, Albert? a rich, rich farmer. That's better. Now, the farmer's rich land was bound on one side by a wide river, and on the other side by a thick wood. And in this wood, so people said, lived a wicked witch. But nobody had ever seen her. And she didn't bother anyone. No, sir, not at all. Now, with the farmer came the farmer's wife, a cheerful, good-natured woman who worked hard alongside her husband and bore him 2 fine twin sons, Jethro and Jonas. And because they were so rich and the food was plentiful, and their parents happy and easygoing, the 2 boys grew up big and strong and were a credit to their parents. They worked hard alongside their father in the fields, and because they worked so hard, their crops flourished and their happiness increased day by day. They were all quite content in each other's company, which was fortunate because their closest neighbor, another farmer, lived several miles further along the river valley. Although sometimes his daughter Molly would pass by on her way to the market. Whenever she did, she would smile and wave to them. Morning, all! Morning, Molly.
Morning, Molly.
Morning, Molly.
Morning, Molly.
And so it continued year after year until the boys had grown to manhood, and the farmer and his wife were not quite as young as they had been. And on the boy's 17th birthday, they were celebrating as usual, when there was a terrible storm. But it wasn't just an ordinary storm, but continued for days on end. The fields were flooded, the crops were ruined, and the river finally burst its banks, and many of their cattle were swept away despite every attempt to save them. The water dried, and soon even their house was flooded. So for several days, the poor family had to climb on the roof, or they would be drowned without a doubt. And when the storm stopped, and the river died down, and the poor family came down from the roof, they'd come to discover that they'd lost everything. They were no longer rich at all, but quite poor. They sat and stared at the damage and destruction and felt very sad indeed. Suddenly, a stranger came riding by, a dark-eyed woman on a jet-black stallion.
Whoa there, Sinai! Easy boy.
She was elegant and beautiful, and looked at the very least like a royal princess or even a queen. But she was neither of these. She was, in fact, the wicked witch from the thick, dark wood. All these many years she had lived alone, weaving her spells and mixing her potions. But lately she had begun to feel lonely. For even she realized that witches grow old, though they live much longer than we do. She was now 450, and she wanted companionship. Although she had married several times, she had grown tired of all her husbands and gotten rid of them all, either by poisoning them or by eating them. Moreover, none of them had lived long enough to bear her the child that she so wanted. Over the past few days, she found herself weeping bitterly. Indeed, it was her tears that had caused the rain to fall and the river to rise. But now she had stopped crying. She decided to seek out a new husband. Someone young and strong and handsome. And as she rode past the farm, she espied Jethro and Jonas. Although she could not immediately choose between them, she knew that she would have one of them by fair means or foul. But the witch was cunning, and she decided to trick them.